So, John Boy here. I'm going to be putting this together. Now, the Joel Salatin style, Joel Salatin says it should be 10 by 10. That makes perfect sense to me, because that's what the materials allow and dictate. However, those are 8 foot, and so the overhang, I want to have a little bit of an overhang of 1.5 inches. So 8 foot by 8 foot, that's what those dictate. I could have got those in 10 footers, but what I'm going to do on the ground, allowing for 16 feet from the creek. So I need 8 foot so I can make 2 passes. So that dictates the size. It's environmental, I guess, dictation for me. So I got those 8 by 8. I want an overhang of 1.5 inches. So the one thing to remember is these are 8 foot. So if I have 1.5 inches on each side, that gives me -3 inches. And then I want it to be square, so I gotta subtract 3 inches. So that gives me 6 inches less than this. And that'll give me -1.5 inches for each one of these, and then the overhang. Each one of these I gotta shorten by 1.5 inches to allow for that overhang, or 3 inches to allow for the overhang. So then when I'm done, that'll be 8 foot by 8 foot. This will be 1 inch or 1.5 inches short of that, to lessen how much rain gets on the frame at the top and rots it. So it's one of those things where it's just dictated in that manner. I don't have a speed square, so I'm using this. Wow, this is great wood. You can't get a straight edge on this if you try. Glad I'm cutting that piece off. So, simple math. I was a carpenter by trade. Losing my memory before. I do not remember most of it. But some things come to me, some things don't. So, and then I have my beams right here. And after I have these cut and pulled together, I will bring you back and show you the finished frame. Now, one thing real quick I wanted to let you know, this is 1.5 inches. It's called a 2x4. It's 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So, 1.5 inches is what I'm screwing from this into, and I want it to be flush. So I came in about 3/4 of an inch and down about 3/4 of an inch. Same thing over here. So it distributes the stress on the other board. And that's actually what I learned going to school for carpentry, because it distributes the stress. So I just wanted to give you that tip. Anything you're screwing into, if I was going into 1 by, I would have it about 3/8 and still have it down about 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch. So you distribute the pressure this way, and you're going into a board that's only this. How do you get it so you can see it? If I was going into a board only this thick, I wouldn't want it at 3/4 of an inch, because I would catch the very edge of it. So you center it. That's basically what it is. Center it. Okay, so moment of truth. I want 7'9", and I got 7'9" and 1/8. I'll take it. See, I have my head back on. So It's 8'7" this way, and 8'9" that way. And of course I have 7'9" this way, 7'9" that way. So I'm going to take one of my 2x4s, and let me see if you can see this corner. Okay, instead of cutting it and putting it in this way, it's going to have a lot of weight, and I'm not going to be able to get this clean up the corner here. So I want the same rigidity of this on the corners. So what I'm going to do is rip this up the middle. I'm going to rip this up the middle. It's when you cut it up this way. It's called ripping it. So then I will be able to have half of it in here, like this. So it'll look more like that. And then I'll be able to put it on the corner. We'll put a full one on the corner to help overlap this. And it'll give me a super tight corner. This won't be just sitting down onto this. But I'll probably have it so they're staggered like this, half and half. I gotta see how it looks once I rip it down. So you end up with pretty good strength in the corners. And then you just put a 2x4 straight up on the centers. And you run your beams from center to center. So one of these I'll have to cut 1.5 inches out of, because that's the width of this. So now I have 2 short ones that come in this way. Put the top band on, which will be ripped down 2x4s around the outer edge. And then we will have it, just wrap it up, and I'll come back to you after I figure out this corner, and then I'll finish it off and I'll show you how it's all wired up. To get the center, here's a trick. You go ahead, if you don't know the dimensions or whatever, or you're not good at math, simple, 0, 4. Turn it to the same side, meets the square number on the other side, divide it by 2, which in this case is 2. So you get your 4 there, and then you do the 2, and then you draw a line there. Then you come up and you do it again, and I get the 2 there. Then I take this and I draw the line. Now I measure this. It is 1 3/4. So if your saw is adjusted right, which you can see right here, there's a 0. So if you measure over 1 3/4, which is right here, you can see there's 2, so there's 1 3/4. So take a pair of vice grips, I want just on the other side of that 1 3/4, because this edge here on the vice grips will hold it out. And it won't. So then you can put it right on it. So there you go, it's right on the line. Now, put the vice grips to the side, and as you can see, I was right in the first place. I know I wasn't. So how's this work? Now what we're going to do is run that along the edge like that, and it'll go, and it'll cut the whole thing in half. Makes it nice and easy. You don't need a whole lot of math. You need some, but there's ways to make it easier. So, and if you have one of these big framing squares, they have math on it. It's got a whole bunch of numbers. And the paperwork that comes with it tells you the dimensions. But if you start at 0, and each one you go, it tells you your length. You see over here it says what your lengths are. I think this is the side that gives you dimensions. But anyways, the paperwork that comes with it explains how to use it. I don't remember. Used it for decades, and I don't remember how to use it. So, I'm teaching you the little tricks that I've learned that I do remember. And that'll make it so I can rip this straight down the middle. And 0 is set to the center of the blade. So, if it's not set to the center of the blade, then you take the screw loose and you move it until it is center of the blade. You do that with it unplugged. That way, if you bump the trigger, you don't lose a finger. Or worse. So, and one other trick is you want base of this groove, where is it? Base of this groove, the bottom part of this groove, just above the surface. So let me see if I can do this. So you want it just above that groove, out the bottom. That will make these teeth last a lot longer. What am I looking at? Okay, these little tiny teeth on here. Focus, focus, focus. Or not. So those little teeth will last longer. If you have sawhorses or something that's sacrificial, you want it so that you can get below this. So you have all that sticking out the bottom. That'll make it easier for the saw to go through. But if you have it at least down to here, that will help these teeth stay cooler. They'll get air. And it won't overheat them and make them give out prematurely. So I'll get this corner built up and I'll show you what it's going to look like. Oh, and I want to let you know, when you're cutting like this through here, one, I kept moving it and I had to hold it up at the end so I didn't hit this. However, I want you to know, if this gets sandwiched, can you see what I'm doing? Let me move it up like this. If this gets sandwiched like this behind the blade, it'll kick back. So you want to put a shim or something in the very end. Now when you get to the end, you want to be doing this on horses, which I'm going to go get mine. Because if you put your hand behind here, if it lines up, it's going to jump back at your hand. So, which I shouldn't even have my finger there. But it'll jump back and you'll end up cutting your hand off. So, just trying to show you a couple tips for those that don't know how to use saws to make it easier. Like I said, I wouldn't have to do this if I got 2x2s. This gives me a little bit more girth. The 2x2s at the local box store, well, I've had straighter noodles. So, and these are cheaper. A little bit more substance to them. So, alright. So, one of the other things is when you're cutting these, here's my mark. Nothing is holding that end. You can't see it. So nothing's holding that end. Let it fall. I'll do it with support this time. You have it on something, line it up. And you let the shoulder of the two-piece fall. Therefore it doesn't bind up, kick the saw back at you. Okay, so gonna have it so that this is like this, and my finished height is this. So from the bottom to the top. I'm just gonna hold it up like 1/8 of an inch, which is basically a very minute amount. And then I will have my 2x2 top friend going around here, and I will put a 2x4 from here up to the bottom of that 2x2. Now, because I ripped these down, they're going to be different. So I'm going to cut each one independently, just so that the top is nice and flush. Because I try to be a perfectionist. So, but that way, this will be very sturdy in the corners, because I will have the rope around this corner and around the other corner, so that I'm pulling with this line. So that while I'm pulling, this is the side, this is the end. So I will be pulling this whole beefed corner, and it'll help the cage last longer. Or the pen, it's still a cage. But we just don't call it that, we call it a pen. So, I think it was brilliant the way he designed these. It's pretty simplistic. I'm just making, he probably makes it better than this. You don't need it beefed up real hard, heavy. If it's really big, then you can't pull it. And I need it to be light. But I have to have a certain amount of rigidity to this bottom so that it'll last me. Because I can't afford to be doing this all the time. And I believe his has the 2x4s at the bottom. So the only thing that I'm doing different is I'm putting this piece in the corner. Instead of having this come up, or have it come up here, I want this on the corner so that the chicken wire can come down, turn, and go down this way. So this will be like this. And then in the back, I'll put a couple 2x2s this way, about the middle of the 2x4 so they're not laying on the ground. And they'll be able to perch on those. And then hanging out the back, I will have the roll-away nest boxes so that I don't have to clean them. So this is what we'll end up with. It'll be somewhat beefy. My main concern is for it to be beefy in this bottom corner. So this will allow it to be fairly rigid. And then I'll put in the middle a 2x4. So each corner and each middle, I'll have a 2x4 going from this to the top rail, except for in the middle. It'll go to the top rail, and then the header will be butted into it. And that'll be it. Or I'll set this on it, notch it, set that on it. It'll come up the side like that. So we'll see when I get there. So this will give me a beefy corner for the rope to go around, and we're good and solid. Oh! So, see you then. So, one other quick tip here. The drill stops just short of the bottom. That way, if I have it setting on something and I drill through it, I'm not going through and wrecking my bottom surface. I really don't want to drill a bunch of holes in my trailer. So, there's another tip that you just go down, and I have it sizable, like 1/4 of an inch short, just under 1/4 of an inch. So when you're drilling down, you hit this top bit, you kind of press it in a little. So even if I press it in a little, I'm still short of the bottom. So that way, you might be able to see better here, better contrast. That little bit drilling the screw through isn't going to matter. But that way, I don't blow out the block and I don't drill through stuff. So, you know, camera angles are real easy when you're on the back side of the camera. not used to being on the front side of the camera. So it makes these angles extremely difficult. It's one of those things, not knowing anything would have probably worked better. Alright. So I think this is enough for this video. And I will continue the rest of this. And then I will pick this back up with the next video. So if you like it and it's at all helpful, I definitely appreciate the like, subscription, and tell your friends about it. Maybe I could help some of them. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.